This is a booster case of a card game called Shadow Era. It is a game that was funded by Kickstarter, although it was quite a while ago when this thing was made. This thing is little more than an honestly really pathetic World of Warcraft clone, but it was, hyped up back in the day as this next big thing that you should invest in and buy booster boxes to sit on, because unlike World of Warcraft, it's got all that edgy stuff like violence, gore, and boobies, the things that people think will make a game good or popular, but then, they crash into my mantra, which is, don't forget, you're asking people to play this game in public against complete strangers. That is literally what a tournament is. You have these 15-year-olds that you're trying to appeal to with this crass stuff and watch as they shrivel into little worms when they're asked to show these cards to people in public. Now, when this came out, they were trying to sell these for your standard booster box prices, but today I got this booster case. This case, as in all 6 of these boxes, each of which contain 24 15-card packs for $25. Again, for the whole case. This is what happens when all you have is hype. Yeah, I know, I still have the Redikai pitch Bible here. I know it eats the Redikai fandom alive that I am the one in possession of this book. I don't know if any others of these have been found, but this one is mine. Okay, yeah, this Kickstarter video was a little bit rocky. I admit it's maybe not some of my best work. Maybe I got went a bit too far afield with what I was talking about. I mean, there are a lot of people who needed to hear the Kickstarter stuff, especially since a lot of games are launching their Kickstarters right now. I mean, there have been, a lot of games that have just generally been releasing this year. So many games that, it's kind of crazy to me just how many games are coming out. We've got, Lorcana, which has been advertised for a while. We got the One Piece card game. These are all games that released within a year. We got Battle Spirit Saga. We have Shadowverse Evolve now. We're going to have a Neopets game. There have been so many games launching this year, and honestly, I worry that a lot of it is just trying to clout chase the 2021 TCG bubble, which thankfully is starting to die down. I think this latest stunt that Wizards of the Coast did with the One Ring card that could genuinely land them in legal jeopardy, if what I'm hearing is correct, is hopefully one of the things that's helping kill it off, although Magic's 30th anniversary thing certainly contributed to that. But anyway, something that I felt about this channel is that I think a lot of the people who watch it are kind of wanting to know a bit more about the production side of making a game. They've made their game, they've kind of done all they can to it, but, it's kind of difficult to make that step going from a creative to a businessman, which, like I said, it's scary. It means you have to, delegate roles and deal with the people you've never dealt with before, production companies, publishers, distributors, all that jazz. It's a terrifying world, and that is something that I am trying to personally educate myself more on, which is why I'm trying to do more videos and stuff like that. I do have some discussions about manufacture. I've been asking questions. There have been some people who have been getting their games kickstarted and published on the Discord that I've been able to talk to regarding things like this. A common element in a lot of these Kickstarted games is their the printing company they're using. The thing about printing, and that's kind of a sticky wicket for a lot of these. Thanks to what's happening in 2021, a lot of native printers, native to the United States, I know. I'm not so sure about the Europe, United Kingdom, all of those places over there, if they're having a similar problem. But the thing about a lot of the print shops in the United States is they are so busy doing $1 million orders, printing for the larger game companies that have the monster budgets and the corporate backing, that they will often not give the time of day to a small indie dev. One thing that a lot of people have suggested is to do print-on-demand service. If you ask a print-on-demand service, they'll certainly recommend a print-on-demand service. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only reason you would want to use a print-on-demand service is if you don't mind not making any money. Because while print-on-demand has the benefit of not having any overhead, no overhead printing costs or storage costs, it has the downside of making you absolutely no money. So zero overhead, but also zero profit. It's the simple in and out. Something I have said many times is that print-on-demand services are best for sample products or like really short runs. Otherwise, you're better off getting a printing company. And most of the printing companies that are generally open for business are unfortunately out of China. So that will often cost you a pretty penny on shipping, although apparently a lot of that has started to untangle as well. But a lot of the people I've been talking to, a lot of the games that have been printing lately, use a company called WJPC. They tend to do stuff a little bit on the cheap, so don't expect like too crazy, phenomenal stuff going on with your card printing if you're going to do that. They have like the capacity to make like custom foils and stuff if your order is large enough. Like I said, usually the minimum order is about 5,000 if you want to get a pretty good deal on printing those booster boxes. But like I said, printing booster boxes out of China can be like $5 a pop. So it's actually not that difficult to get a decently sized run. Like I said in the video, a really high stretch goal that gives all the backers a bonus booster box is actually not that ridiculous when you take all of that into account. But again, you are dealing with a Chinese company. They tend to be most receptive before your order is like locked in and done, so you want to make sure that all those questions get asked pretty early on in the relationships and dealings. You want to, again, pre-collate your sheets, whatever program you're using. I don't know if there's a way to automatically jumble it. If there are like card game making programs out there, there should be an automatic jumbler. If I don't know if anybody's made a feature, or if there's a card game, a card producing program that does it. That's probably the thing I should get literate on next, is, you know, the actual like programs and webdings and all that you use to actually like get your set together and ready for print. If those programs that can like automatically collate a spreadsheet into like a printable sheets of cards don't have a way to automatically jumble that so that your booster packs are genuinely random rather than just being, you know, card 45, card 46, card 47, that would be a huge benefit to you. So another thing I talked about was the health of the Kickstarter. That is something I brought up about games that sell themselves purely on hype, is, you know, the logical problems, just like with NFTs. Remember how we like don't talk about NFTs anymore? The idea was that it wasn't about, you know, getting the rare cards so that you could play games with them. It was, you know, getting the booster boxes and getting the rare cards to try to flip them to make a profit is what so much of card collecting was in 2020 and 2021, and to a certain extent 2022, until, you know, a lot of that hype finally got chilled. But it's a basic story of supply and demand. You know, there are people who say, oh, grab our boxes, sit on them, make them go to the moon and stuff like that. All that fun, you know, scammy terminology. Whereas the reality is, if people are not playing your game, then those people who buy up and sit on these booster boxes will very quickly realize that they have nobody to sell to who's interested in. They might try to sell to people who then want to try to flip again, but in a lot of cases, those people who are trying to sell these like overpriced boxes in like a hurry to try to get people to buy them, they're often, you know, pumping the stock and using the people who buy into it as the dump, if you are familiar with that kind of scam. The thing is, I am seeing so many games that are clearly trying to market themselves this way. Like, I can't remember the name of the game, I'll probably show it on the screen here, but they racked up $300,000 in backer donations. Now, that would be impressive, but the thing is, the average backer donation for that campaign was $800. That is an absolutely inhuman amount to spend on a card game that hasn't even released yet. It's honestly pretty disturbing to me. It wasn't the lower tiers that had sold out, it was the higher tiers that were all completely sold out. It was people purely buying into the high dollar stuff to get the booster boxes to try to sit on and flip. Unless it was like just straight up a money laundering operation, which I honestly would not put past some of these. But $800 per contributor is not a healthy backer goal. Like I said, a good, healthy level for your game is somewhere between like $100 to $300. Those are people, that's a pretty average amount for people buying into a game who are genuinely interested, genuinely want to try it. $125 is one booster box plus 2 starter decks. That's somebody who buys the cards so that they can have a couple of decks to play with and a booster box to expand their collection. Go a bit higher, people get like 2 or 3 booster boxes. You know, that's how you start a collection. You don't buy like a bajillion booster boxes with the intent of opening them all if your goal is to be a player. I've detailed this in my booster box video, my one specifically about my video specifically about booster packs and booster boxes. Generally, you only need to open 1 or 2 booster boxes to get the vast majority of cards in the set and the vast majority of what you need. That's actually one of the things that's so beautiful about trading card games that I feel has kind of been abused lately, is the fact that a trading card game can be a collaborative effort. I personally have no problem with the trading card game model as it is, as it is used, as it was designed. The idea of having cards that are scarce, of only getting a few cards of certain rarities in the booster boxes you get, what that does is it encourages a community, because what you're supposed to do is take the cards that came in your booster box and go and find people who have opened their own booster boxes and swap with each other for the cards you need. You're not supposed to like crack pack after pack after pack after pack trying to find one card. Every collector out there will say if you're only looking for 1 or 2 cards, don't crack packs, go online and just buy it. It's part of the beauty of the trading card game model that all of these people who compare these to loot boxes, they really don't get it. Kind of disgusts me. Honestly, the whole loot box discourse and unboxing culture has really polluted what I feel is kind of the purity of the trading card game. It didn't used to be this way. I remember a day when Alpha Black Lotus was $500, and that was considered pretty high. I think a couple of years later it was like $1,200, but it was not as absurd as it is now. Granted, it's because the Black Lotus is now more widely distributed and prized and a whole lot older, but I mean, I own cards from Alpha. It's not that hard to do. It's not really something that should be hyped up to like stratospheric prices. It's really just all going to collapse in the end. The same thing happened to comic books. The same thing happened to coins. The same thing happened to stamps. The same thing happened to tulips. It's not going to be something that you can use as a prolonged investment unless the game itself is a hit. The game has to be a hit. There has to be people who play the game, play it year over year over year, building fond memories, treasuring certain cards, and that is where you will have a market to sell to. I mean, having 1 or 2 boxes to sit on to try to have fun, that can be maybe a worthwhile investment. Like, you keep a couple of boxes sealed. I mean, these days, a lot of people buy a box and keep it sealed for like sentimental reasons. And personally, that's fine. But if all that's happening is people are buying up the boxes to sit on to try to flip at a monster profit, nobody's actually opening the cards to play with them, and your market basically disintegrates. That is probably my largest warning, not just for people making games, but for people shopping around on Kickstarter. These sorts of get-rich-quick schemes are all over the place. People purely boasting about the value of the cards you can get. Like I said in my video about rarity, I have no problem with putting in your game cards that are genuinely unique and special, but one, they should not break your game. You should not require them in order to play. Although, let me see what I have here. Yeah, I did pull the Alpha Rare out of the booster box of Alpha Clash that I got. Well, I got 2 boxes, and of course, it came out of the boxes that I did not film. But having cards that are genuinely rare and special, I think, is fine. They should not break your game, and they should not be the sole reason people are opening these cards. It should be where the whole experience is a thing, and just getting a rare card is, a nice bonus. You want, first and foremost, a game that people enjoy playing and collecting the cards for. You can't do just collecting. You can't do just, value speculation and stuff like that. It has to be a game that people play so that those cards retain their value. Because if all anybody hears about a card game is the value, the price, I mean, some people might be drawn in like this, but people who actually play games, it's like, so how does the game play? And the people who are hyping these cards have no idea. That is something to worry about. Yeah, that's my biggest concern with what's happening with trading card games right now, is that the model where, the trading card game model, its brilliance, where you can opt in at any level you want. You could buy, if it's a game featuring characters you like, you can buy just the cards featuring those characters and be done with it. You could buy a deck and just a few packs and play with your friends. You could buy some boxes and really get invested, do a lot of trading, try to build a good deck. You could go full spike and try to build like a super competitive deck, go net decking and researching and, you know, buying like the rare fancy cards. It's why I think spike cards as fancy, like alternative cards, I think is fine. Like, although I think, hilariously enough, I think the, like I have the alpha rare and I have the ultimate rare. Apparently the ultimate rare version is actually even more rare because while there are 1,000 of this guy, because the print run was actually only 5,000 boxes, this guy's actually harder to find. This guy's like 1 in 5, this guy's like 1 in 12. But I just keep repeating myself. If your game is not good, your cards are not going to hold any value. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, I guess I don't really have too much to discuss on crowdfunding aside from, you know, learning basic management skills. So, I guess the question here is sort of twofold. Would you rather I keep focusing on the game design aspect of things, or would you like me to look more into the production elements? Do you want me to, you know, find card game making programs and, you know, judge them, reference, you know, websites and places like that to find like artists? Like I know Legend Story Studios, they like sourced all of the artists for like the first set of Flesh and Blood. They sourced it from one website. If you go and if you pick any Flesh and Blood card from some of the early sets, you look up the artist, you will find like all of them congregated on this one website. So there are places where you can go to find illustrations. Illustrations can range from, you know, like $100 to like $300, $500 a piece. Depending on who you source. If you get like a staff artist, if you have like a salaried staff artist that can generate a lot of artwork for you, then, you know, you're generally on Easy Street. Or if you license a game and get access to all of their previous artwork, like Universes does, then you're also on Easy Street. I think, you know, actually focusing on that is going to be an important thing. But yeah, art is very important for a game. You can talk about mechanics all day, you can analyze, you know, all this stuff, but at the end of the day, what draws people to your game is a really is good presentation. It's presentation! It's having really good and attractive art. It's having rules that are straightforward and easy to learn. It's, I'm working on Know Your Hook, which is entirely about teaching people about your game, and if you cannot introduce your game in the length of one tweet, then it's too long. I'm gonna drill on that. The problem is I'm gonna be doing like Clutch Cargo style animation on that. That's what's really slowing that down. And another thing that's slowing me down is I am actually going to be changing locations soon. Yeah, I'm gonna be moving. So this might be one of the last videos I actually record here. I'm moving out at the end of July, which is not very long from now. So this might be the last time that you see me here on the couch. I'm moving to a smaller place, so I'm sadly gonna have to leave this behind. I do have an alternative setup. It's sadly probably gonna be me in front of a bunch of shelves like so many other YouTubers out there, but you know, if it works for them, why not? So yeah, that is a look at my follow-up discussion on Kickstarter. The games that were backed on Kickstarter have gotten a lot of their stuff together. We'll just have to see where that goes. There's a chance Illustrals might have sent me something, and there are, of course, a lot of other games out there. I do plan on going to one of the Shadowverse Evolve previews in Pennsylvania. I think it's going to be the one at Alternate Universes, because, you know, that's a store I go to a lot. So, hey, if you want to see me there. But yeah, a big thanks to all of my patrons who helped me out with this. I don't think any of this would be possible without their help. It has been a tense few months, to say the least. But yeah, that is my discussion on Kickstarter and crowdfunding. And until next time, this is Kodak signing off. My foot is falling asleep real bad.